professional butcher breaks down a whole veal shoulder. Most people a veal shoulder and think it's stew meat, but professional butcher sees something completely different. Inside this cut are multiple muscles, each different texture, structure, and cooking purpose. And if you don't break it down correctly, you're literally leaving money on the table. Today, breaking down a whole veal shoulder. The professionals do it. The veal shoulder comes from the front quarter of the animal, working muscle group. That means it develops more connective tissue than the loin, or the section, but it also develops deeper flavor. That's why chefs love this cut for slow cooking, braising, and certain steak-style portions. Understanding the structure of this shoulder is the key to maximizing its value. Before first cut, a good butcher studies the anatomy. Inside the shoulder, there are several distinct muscle groups. Each muscle runs in a different direction and a different grain pattern. Some parts are perfect for braising. Some can be portioned into steaks. Others become premium stew or grind. The goal is not just cutting meat. The goal is separating each muscle along its natural seams. The first step is stabilizing the cut. You want the shoulder positioned firmly on the table so the knife can move with control. Professional butchers always work with the natural seams. These seams are lines of connective tissue that separate individual muscles. Instead of forcing the knife through the meat, you let the structure guide your blade. This technique is called seam butchery, and it dramatically improves yield. Now we begin removing the bone. The shoulder blade, also called the scapula, is the main bone this section. The key here is keeping the knife as close to the bone as possible. You don't hack, you glide. Small, controlled strokes. Following the contour of the bone, a clean debone does three important things. It preserves the structure of the muscles, it minimizes waste, and it leaves a smooth surface finish. Bone removed. The blade section becomes clearly visible. This is one of the most versatile parts of the shoulder. When properly trimmed, this muscle can be used for several applications. Chefs use it for braised veal dishes, slow or even blade-style steaks, but only if the butcher cleans it properly. Too much trimming, and you lose moisture. Too little trimming, and the final product becomes chewy. Balance everything. Now, into trimming. First, we remove excess silver skin. Silver skin is a tough connective membrane that does not break down during cooking. If left on the meat, it can cause the final dish to tighten and curl. But trimming requires precision. Fat, the enemy. Fat is moisture and flavor. A good butcher removes only what needs to go and leaves what in the product. At this stage, the shoulder is separated into smaller sections, typically includes the blade portion, shoulder sections, and smaller muscle groups used or grind. Each muscle has its own grain direction, and this detail is critical. When portioning meat, you always cut the grain. Cutting against the grain shortens muscle fibers. Shorter fibers mean more tenderness. This full principle makes a huge difference in the final dish. A properly broken down veal shoulder offers many possibilities. Portion it for braised dishes. Cube it for premium stew. Trim select muscles into blade-style steaks. Use structured trim for high-quality grind. The shoulder has a purpose. Nothing random. Professional butchery is about understanding the product and respecting the anatomy. The veal shoulder is often underestimated, but in skilled hands, it becomes one of the most versatile cuts in the entire animal. This is not meat cutting. This is butchery. Now that the main muscle groups are separated, this is where real butchery knowledge starts to matter. Many people think the job is done once the shoulder is deboned, but in reality, this only the beginning. Every muscle inside the shoulder has a different purpose. Some are perfect for long braising, others can be portioned into beautiful cooking cuts, and some sections are ideal for grinding. Understanding these differences is what separates a professional butcher from someone who is simply cutting meat. Now take a look at this muscle right here. Notice direction of the grain. Muscle fibers always run in one direction. You cut with the grain, the fibers remain long. That makes the meat feel tougher when chewing. But when you cut across the grain, you shorten the fibers, and shorter fibers create tenderness. This is one of the most important principles in meat cutting. Now let's talk about trimming. A common beginner's mistake is removing too much fat. They think leaner meat better, but that's not always true. Fat protects during cooking. It keeps them moist and helps carry flavor. So the goal is not to remove all fat. The goal is to remove only what doesn't belong. Silver skin is something we always trim away. Unlike fat, silver skin does not melt during cooking. It tightens, becomes chewy. That's why careful trimming makes difference. Now as we continue breaking down the shoulder, you can see how the muscles naturally separate. This is why butchery is so important. When you follow the natural seams, the muscles almost pull apart on their own. You don't need to work anything. That means cleaner cuts and better presentation. Presentation matters more than people think. Chefs want cuts that clean, even, and consistent, because consistency in the kitchen creates consistency on the plate. Now let's portion some of these muscles. Some sections will be cubed for high-quality veal stew. Others we portioned for braised dishes, and certain can even be cut into blade-style steaks. This is where value is created. From one shoulder, you can produce full products, each with a different use and a different price point. The proper breakdown is so important in professional butchery. When done correctly, nothing to waste. Every trim purpose. Structured trim becomes premium grind. Smaller pieces become stew meat, and the best muscles become beautiful cuts. This philosophy is simple. Respect the animal. Understand the anatomy. Maximize every part of the product. Because butchery is not it's about precision. It's about knowledge. It's about experience. When all three together, even a complex cut like the veal shoulder becomes something truly versatile.